Are you looking for an escape from manufactured truth wrapped in selfish agenda? Don't you just want to have a real and raw conversation, all masks and rules aside? That's what you're getting here at Titan Evolution Podcast. Get rid of all the nonsense information and discuss everything under the sun without filters. Listen to real stories of real people who will put your current perspectives to the test, guide you on living the life you truly want, and see everything free from judgment and pretenses. Time to get rid of those unhealthy environments and let your authentic self shine. Here are your hosts, Travis Johnson and Carol Carpenter.
Hey, welcome back to the show. I'm here with my lovely co-host, Carol, and our guest today, Anna Choi. Anna is an energy coach, Forbes author, TEDx speaker, and all-around badass. That's why we invited her on the show. Anna, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
We're doing fantastic, obviously. For those of you that don't know the real stuff that goes on here, I'm going to give you a little behind-the-scenes sneak peek of what it is that we do. So we get on the guest to come in and we BS for a couple of minutes, and then we come into the recording studio all amped up with good vibes and good energy. But I mean, the pre-show discussion was all about bangs and erections. So who knows what kind of show we're going to have today?
It's true. I don't want to put my name to that, but yes, those words did come through.
You're the one that we're talking about anyway. It's not about whose fault it is. It's who we're blaming. Today we're blaming Anna.
Right.
Yeah, it's all her fault.
Own it, okay. Anna. Just own it. Say, yep.
I do. That's why I'm a Titan, because I can take it.
That's right.
That's what. Well, that's the first question. Well, what makes you a Titan? And one we know is because you can take it. And then, what else makes you a Titan?
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's such a good segue.
You're welcome. I've been doing this for a while.
Yeah. No, I can tell. So, well, I think it depends on how you would define what a Titan is. And if we just define it as a badass who's taking it, then I would say, I mean, where do I start? There's like so many different instances.
Well, let's not talk about instances. Let's talk about what makes you in particular a Titan.
Yeah, not the stuff that you've done or accomplished.
Right.
But the Titan is who you are, and because of who you are, you were able to accomplish those things.
I am. Grit is the word that comes up, as overused as it is. I'm trying to think of a different word.
Grit, resilience, determination.
Maybe resilience. Probably resilience is a better word. Yeah. Yeah, because I will put myself in situations that are really uncomfortable for me all around. And then, come back, keep coming back anyway, and grow from it. And that could be on many different levels, right? Whether it was playing football with an NFL player as the only woman, or to emotionally dealing with things. I always grew up a token Asian in all, mostly all white communities. And
oh, amen, girl, because I was there, and I was there many, many years before you.
Yeah, which was like way worse.
Well, back then, yeah, no, for sure. And back then, we didn't have the safety nets that you probably had when you were going through with it. For us, the kids were allowed to call us the racial slurs, and the principals would never step in, and you were just expected to get stronger from it, or pretty much let it completely destroy you. So it's an interesting thing being the only of something within your community, and having to kind of, I want to call it, rise up to the occasion. So maybe that's what helped you develop your resilience.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in a male-dominated industry until coaching, I would say, for this whole time as a financial advisor, right? Triple minority there, because being a 22-year-old telling people how to retire is fun.
Sure. Yeah, no. Being young at any at any profession where, you know, people are of a certain age, they're probably looking at you like, what do you know about retiring? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then being a woman and then being Korean. Everyone's like, oh, you should just take the Korean market. And I'm like, I don't speak Korean.
I don't speak Chinese either. I take it back. I do speak Taiwanese, but I don't read or write the language. So it's like, yeah, so I'm the worst Asian ever, you know?
My mom called me a banana when I was 18.
They called you a banana?
She's like, you're so yellow on the outside, but white on the inside.
Oh my God.
Mom, you're supposed to support me. She won't listen to
my God.
okay. But
Mom, I didn't say this, FYI. No, that wasn't you. I was referring to somebody else.
I was like, I know I'm white on the inside, but you don't have to say it and spell it.
Well, but were you born and raised here?
Yes.
Were you born and raised here, Anna?
I was. I was born in Ohio, of all places.
Oh, that's white.
I know. That's where my parents met. Then get more wet than that.
Ohio. Oh, that's white. Have you been to the upper Midwest? Everyone was
I'm sorry.
Scandinavia or Germany.
I know.
Or Denmark.
Thomas,
Everyone was imported.
Like white, as in like milky white, like cow white. You know, that kind of. I'm kidding. Never mind.
What? I'd say this is derailed, but let's be honest, we were never on the tracks to begin with.
No, we were. We go off the rails all the time, so let's just roll with it.
Yeah. I was going to say something that could derail it more. I opted not to.
Please, go ahead. It is so completely
opposite at this point. Right? That's where we began this conversation.
Yeah. And so, you know,
anyway,
I mean, how do you think that this helped you in, you know, the endeavors that you've been on?
I've never connected the two, but obviously there must be something there. Well, I moved a lot too. So I moved to Texas and then I lived in Georgia, and that's like most of where my childhood was in the South. And it's really not Korean there when I grew up. So it'd be like, what are you? And I'd be like, what do you mean? And then they're like, are you Chinese? No. Are you Japanese? No. Then what are you?
There's only two options, right?
Yeah, right. In Asia, those are the two options that you get asked. I love it.
There were a lot of Koreans that migrated down in the 80s, granted, but I'd be like Korean. And some I started messing with people though. I'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Later on, it would get more sophisticated. Like, what's your ethnicity? No, where are you from? And I'm like, oh, you know, down the street. And they're like, no, where are you from? And I'd be like, Ohio.
Now, if we had asked you what your nationality is,
heritage, like what's your nationality? I'd be like, I'm American.
I'm an American-born banana.
What time? I was like, I'm Mexican.
See, I don't understand.
I was waiting. Understand. I was like, are they gonna call me out? And then they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, my dad's Mexican.
I don't understand Asian as a moniker, because are you talking like Asian? Is that people from Saudi Arabia? Is that people from India? Oh, Asian. You must mean Russian. What the hell do people mean by Asian?
It was a made up term just for the States because they couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah.
Segregation of black and white people. They're like, what do we call these yellow
people in general? Yeah, this whole class. You know, I think for some people though, and in all, you know, kidding aside, I think they're curious because they may not have had any encounters with an Asian, so they don't really understand what flavor you are, right? So let's just call it that. What flavor Asian are you, right?
I was actually fine with it the first like 100 times I got asked, but then after that I got a little bored.
You get a little tired of it.
Like the first question.
Yeah, no.
Right? Kids
it doesn't happen now. We have improved as a society.
Yes, as a society.
I don't get it now. now.
Yeah.
That's what kids do, right? They're like, you wear glasses. That's weird. They just know that something is different. They don't know what it means. They don't know if it's good, bad, or otherwise. I
actually didn't get offended. I just got tired or bored. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have like cards? So when I graduated high school, I made cards up that said, oh, hey, you glad to be out of high school? So I'd answer the questions on the card. I was like, yeah, I'm glad to be out of high school. No, I don't know. I want to be when I grow up. I don't plan on, like, I just hand them out instead of having to answer the same question over and over again. I've got friends I got a friend that's 6'11", and he's got cards. How tall are you? It says 6'11". Wow, are you really that tall? I was like, yes. What's the weather like? It's better up here. And like he would hand it out. Someone come up and be like, how tall are you? He just handed him the card. But laughing, he was already gone, so he didn't have to keep re-answering the same questions. I thought it was ingenious.
Totally.
That is genius. So, okay, so resilience. What else? I mean, what in particular for you, and just specifically to you, besides, let's say, in that broad term of resilience, that makes you a Titan?
But you don't want to give me I keep wanting to give past examples, but not necessarily.
Well, no, because this is where you are today. What makes you a Titan today?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is going to be a different kind of answer. So I think what makes me actually a Titan today is going against the grain of society of the hustle and grind. And it's very pervasive and toxic, in my opinion, and all like everywhere. And people know now that it's bad, and they say, oh yeah, that's bad. We're for well-being, but few actually have the balls and guts to follow that. And I do.
And is that why you left your financial field?
Yeah, I got burned out there for sure.
Okay.
Worked 80 hours, something stupid, to build the business, and then from scratch. And then the second business got burned out again in event planning for tech, for social impact. And I was like, oh God, there's got to be a better way. So that's definitely what was part of the impetus for building my practice now. And I'm in a very odd conversation now where I just got done with like 4 weeks of vacation. I'm going into another week of vacation. And I'm like, oh my gosh, too many vacations.
My God, I'm actually quite jealous. You know?
And it's a weird place because it's not like you can it's like having a lot of money. You're like, oh, you can't complain about your wealth problems. You know,
right?
People poor. It's the same thing. It's like can't complain about. But I kind of that's totally what I'm dealing with right now.
There's nothing wrong with that. It does
break your rhythm up, you know.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
When people complain, they talk about not having a lot of the times. Here's the deal: like, if you want to be fit and in shape, that's hard. If you want to be a fat, lazy piece of shit, that's also hard. It's a different kind of hard, but it's still hard. If you want to be wealthy, that's a certain kind of hard. If you want to maintain your wealth, that's a different kind of hard. If you're poor, that's a whole other kind of hard. And you get to choose the life that you want to live and which hard that you want to be okay with. They're like, oh, Travis, you don't understand it. I do. I grew up in trailer parks and foster homes. I fully understand what it's like to be hard, that kind of hard. I understand exactly what you're talking about. There's nothing wrong with saying it's hard because you have too many vacations.
Yeah.
Totally dealing with that right now.
Let's know how we can help you get back into the grind.
Yeah.
Well, I'm like, this is going to air. Yes, it will. So the other
we can edit this out. We won't.
Well, Anna, at the end of the day, this is real. This is raw. This is a conversation. There is nothing that you need to be embarrassed about. And the truth is, if you're going to say it, mean it, own it.
Yeah,
do it.
You are bringing that out in me for sure. So what is vacation? Because for a lot of people, it's more stressful to be with your family or to be with your in-laws or whatever. And so there's this moment where I recently got back from an energy training with my master and energy master. And we really looked at obligations that we have in our life that we actually live by. So whether it's mom, as wife, whatever. And it had me really come back and look, oh my gosh, like to what degree when I take a vacation, is it an obligation of what I'm supposed to do as a mom or as a wife or as a family member or whatever? And it was surprising to see how much that was there. And when I started just in the last, few weeks is my most recent thing, not saying yes to things that are a good idea just to look good or obligate, whatever, like that stuff. It really has, I think that's part of I don't know if it's resilience, but it's, you constantly then face potential judgment, but then you're being yourself and it's more true to yourself. and much more.
So if that's what we're preaching about being authentically yourself, then there should be no guilt around it.
Yeah.
I ask people when I do coaching and I get calls from people like they tell me about their situation. I said, what decision would you make if there was no guilt or shame attached to it? And they immediately have the answer. They don't want to tell me immediately. They don't want to say because the guilt and shame still exists. But I ask them, like, what was that answer? I know it popped into your head. What's the thing you would do? And when they say it, it's almost like they now have permission to do it. If you're not willing to say it, whatever the thing is, then that's what's keeping you prisoner from the things that you know need to happen.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
No, so I'm always, I would say this is a different trait than resilience, but I'm definitely always questioning what is actually true for me right now. So maybe that's authenticity, but like, I'm not going to confine myself to, societal constraints, I would say. Whether that's hustle grind or whether that's my family roles. Like, I pride myself with my marriage because we're very out of the box as far as our relationship goes. And we're not gonna, some people talk about divorce or separating or have problems. And ours are of a different nature where we're like, look, we're not gonna hold each other back from our dreams when the other person's like genuinely not interested in pursuing that expression of dream, right? So for my husband that's living on a boat for a year, like in the Inside Passage, and God love, bless him, I love boats for like a day or like a couple days, but to live on one for a while, like I get kind of seasick. I'm like, no, thank you, but I don't want to clip his wings, right? And I want to go on a global tour with people I know and, visit houses and go tour and speech, and I want to bring Eli along, and he does not want to stay at other people's houses like that, So we were looking at what's authentic and true, and so we're looking at something very unconventional, like where we separate. I go off for 3 months to pursue that dream with Eli. He goes off and lives on a boat, and we switch, come back. I don't know, things like that. Like,
that's called parenting, sweetheart.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking, normally it's like the obligation sets in. Like, no, I need to be there as a mom for his.
But you can't be present.
Until he's 18,
Yeah, but you can't be present for him to help him see through your example, what makes you happy.
Right. That's what I want.
And that's what you're teaching your children is, hey, I want you to do whatever you want in life that makes you happy. If he sees both of his parents, and now he may not see you guys together because you each choose to do, different things, but what he's seeing is ultimately the best thing, which is both of you are happy in your pursuits.
In our expression, without like fully.
Yeah. And then it gives him permission to be that way too.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what you're describing is not really that bizarre when you think about military lifestyle. I spent 53 weeks away in the Middle East. What was my wife doing? I don't know. I could think that I know. I have no idea.
I know. This is like commonplace for all military families. What I just said. I'm like, 3 months.
Yeah.
Try 3
He's
years.
Gonna go live on a boat for a year? I'm like,
I know.
Maybe.
It's like,
yeah, that never happens for us.
Whatever.
You're gonna go on walkabout in a spirit quest with your advisor or the third, like whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
It is not that bizarre. It just depends on what circle you're in.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. And our circle, his is very traditional or more, it's all about family.
What culture?
For the family and blah, 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 blah. And that's not my family, right? But
yeah. Well, do you find that leads to some issues for you guys in your marriage because of it? And is that it? Oh yeah. Well, but that's normal. I mean, let's be honest. Marriage is hard. Let's be honest here. Marriage is hard.
Oh, yeah.
I know. And after 21 years, I still got divorced. Right. So, and we raised 2 great boys, but it's hard for everybody. It's not this like rainbows and unicorns and, it's not the Cinderella story. It's none of that. It is messy and it's life.
It is the number one thing when I'm on coaching calls that people are dealing with. It's
marital problems. Yeah.
Let me ask you this: is the money problems within the marriage the first thing they talk about?
It's actually not. It's not usually related to that.
Interesting.
Oh, what's number one? I'm curious now. Sorry, Travis. Sorry.
There's not a trend of money. I would say each one's unique. So I couldn't even say that there's a pattern per se, but it's not like money's a pattern. Like,
well, it's either money, the mismatch with money, mismatch in communication styles, or mismatch in expectations. Those are three major things. And if money's not figured out, that's usually number one. If money's figured out, it's one of the other two.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just looking, like, it's not like communication. Yeah, it's, a pattern is emerging perhaps of, like different, I guess you could call it under expectations if you wanted, but yeah, of what one wants in the relationship, what the other one wants.
It's tough. It's really tough.
Sure.
It's not like newlyweds have a whole different thing than people that have been together for a long time. Like newlyweds, you have the idea of what you think a family is based on your growing up experience, right? So when my wife was growing up on the farm, Dad did everything in the garage and outside, Mom did everything in the house. That was the expectation. That's what they decided on for their family. I grew up in trailer parks, either with a single mom or in foster care. Like my expectation was all over the place, right? So she would be young at home and like she needed an oil change. So she's like, "Hey, Dad, need an oil change," and he would go do it. Right? That was the guy. That was the thing in her head. When I lived in a house with a single mom or a foster, I'm like, if you didn't do it, like it didn't get done, right? So we were young in our marriage, and she was like, "Babe, my car needs an oil change." And in my head, I was like, "Sounds like you better go get your oil change," right? Because that was my expectation. Right? Not because that she has to do it, but it wasn't yet discussed at this point. And I didn't know that was an unknown expectation that she had. I had no clue because I'd never seen that done that way before. You know what I mean?
Well, because all men know how to change oil. God damn it, Travis.
It's like, oh, like the thing, and it gets, I don't know. I do know how to change oil. I do not prefer to do it because it's just not my thing. But but that's an unknown expectation that you didn't know, or that generally speaking, guys are more direct, and generally speaking, ladies are more suggestive. So like, "Hey, babe, we're getting low on milk." In my head, all I heard was, "Sounds like you're going to run out of milk." In her head, it was her asking me explicitly to pick up milk on the way home.
And that's a communication thing. Absolutely. Yeah. No, absolutely. It's funny though. A lot of things can be resolved if communication can get ironed out and they can speak somewhat the same language.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's the I'm like, I was gonna say something wise, but I'm like, no, I'm gonna hold that thought.
Don't hold back. This is not the hold back show.
You don't
get I'm holding back because the thought like left. What I was gonna say.
Okay. Gotcha.
Are you ladies familiar with Love and Respect by Dr. Emerson Eggerichs?
No,
heard of this thing? Love and Respect is built on a principle in the Bible. There's a line in there that a lot of ladies are uncomfortable with. It says, "Men, love your wives, and women, respect your husbands." And it goes through the talk and discussion of why the Lord of all Lords would have to say that specifically. Because, like, why would you need to tell men to love their wives? Because to women, obviously, right? And to men, why would you say that women need to respect your husbands? You're like, obviously, because men operate largely on the frequency of respect, and women operate on the frequency of love. So we have to be told as men to love our wives because that's not how we normally operate. And women need to be told to respect their husbands because that's not how they normally operate.
Right.
And it talks about the crazy cycle that if I said something, like if Carol and I were in let's say a co-hosting relationship, let's just say, and I said something unloving to Carol, she would respond disrespectfully to me. And this can happen in a marriage, and you can see that cycle, how that works. The same way if she says something disrespectful to him, he's going to respond unlovingly, and you don't know how you got in this argument. But if you say something as a guy I say something lovingly, she's going to respond respectfully, and same back and forth.
That's that I've never even heard of that, but that's the way we're kind of wired, right? So It's knowing those hot buttons to push and knowing not to push them.
Yeah. Well, I know one thing that I see in a lot of marriages or a lot of relationships is a woman will be out talking poorly about her man and say something disrespectful. And to guys, there's nothing more violating than that, than saying something disrespectful, or like, oh, you know, he should have taken care of that long ago. It's been on his list for a long time. A wife might say that thinking that it's just kind of a friendly reminder. The guy feels like he just got hit in the face with a 2x4. Extremely disrespectful. And then doesn't understand, she doesn't understand how they got into this fight. It's because of what she said, but she didn't see it that way.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective. Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So, yeah, I don't know how we got here either. Sorry about that. But, you know, so when you did this financial career, so I don't know about you, like my Asian background was my parents expected me to have a certain profession. So were you led by your family to possibly pursue something that might not have been a passion, you know, for you? Or was this something that you always wanted to do and then found out after you did it and you were successful at it that it wasn't something you really wanted to spend the rest of your life doing? I mean, what led you to eventually, you know, becoming an energy coach?
So my parents did not expect anything. I was just a crazy high achiever, and they're like, have at it. They were smart enough to step aside and allow me to just go crazy. And I was like one of those, you know, in high school, varsity athlete, president of the school, like all AP classes, got all my college done, you know, all that kind of thing. And was like sleeping 5 hours, but burned out then. I would say that's like where the burnout began, of just this intense high achieving that I just was born with. My dad encouraged me to start a business because they were just getting divorced. Well, they got divorced when I was 14. And I was really happy because they at the time fought a ton in the house and was like shaking the walls, like super rage. And so I was so grateful when they were getting divorced. I was like, thank God. And that he was like, look, you don't have a mortgage, you don't have a spouse, or how, you know, you're young, like go risk, be an entrepreneur while you can. And so I took it to heart at the time, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. I had like 10 interviews with other places, and chose this financial planning place because I just liked the people. I thought there was a good opportunity to learn and grow. And then in the business, I loved it. I love the actual business. I love my clients. It's not a fit for the industry. And it, mind you, this is like during the Great Recession of 2008.
Oh, that's bad timing.
Everyone's portfolio. I know.
I heard my military career, the timing isn't everything. Advisors. It's the only thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a hard time. But I love so many people. So I discovered I love entrepreneurship, but that I was not a fan of the industry. And so then I sold that company, and in the next business got burned out, as I was saying. So this whole I was like, this is not sustainable. I mean, it's so obvious. Like everything I'm gonna go for, how long am I gonna last? You know. And now I had a kid, and so it's different. Running a business with a kid and a family and a mortgage. So I was a sole breadwinner for a while in that situation, which was tough. But anyway, so we were at actually rock bottom low. We were on food stamps at one point because I had at that point gone through everything I got from selling my business. I wasn't working for years. I was on sabbatical for a while. I published a children's book. I kind of did fun stuff, and then my husband was just a landscaper at the time, like making $18 an hour. You know, we're talking like family of 3 living off of that wage. So I had to work 6 weeks after having a baby just to pay our bills. So I tell people I wasn't working for 2.5 years just to make it a simple story. But in fact, I had to work So I did like all these odd jobs. I was coaching, I was doing tutoring, I did try to do a bunch of remote stuff, just to bring in extra $500 a month, you know, just to make ends meet. And did that for a couple years while, you know, you're not getting sleep and you're breastfeeding and all that good stuff. And we didn't have any family around. So literally it takes a village, but there was no village. So I just made really good friends with other people that were our age with babies. And I was like, let's do play dates. But anyway, so during that rock bottom period, it kind of kept going into a hole, and my husband at that point had gone to grad school, so we had like $67,000 in debt. I mean, it was not a good situation. And you know, you still have pride, so there was like a moment in the grocery store where I'm like, I couldn't buy the beans because it wasn't like on the card for the EBT, and she's like, hey, Susan, we gotta get a refund here or whatever. I'm just like, oh my gosh. So that was the bottom. And I said, no, we're not doing this. We gotta turn this around. So anyway, long story short, I was getting coaching actually. And my coach was like, dude, you've got daddy issues still. You need to go see Ma. And so Ma is one of my energy masters. She's an enlightened living being. Her Holiness Ma, she's a living saint. And I flew my butt and I spent like a ridiculous amount of money on a credit card I didn't have to go see her because I was desperate. And that was the beginning of my energy mastery journey. And shortly after, I met my other enlightened energy master. His name is Ilchi Lee, and through my yoga center that I was going to. And at the time, I was refusing to even spend, I was a nutcase. I was refusing to spend 5 minutes a day on myself because I couldn't afford it. And at the time, I would leave the class early and come late and then complain about the class. But I was the one not there. I mean, I just had no sense of like self-care. And
well, you weren't even fully present, were you?
God, no. Yeah, I was just
All over
machine, just trying to like keep up with what needed to happen and desperate. I mean, it just wasn't a good situation. So after I got back from that meeting, things started to really turn around. I was working another job, doing my business, and I got laid off. And then that same day got called and accepted another role that was like twice as much money, and got to take some time off for 3 weeks. And it just kind of kept going and going. And so like in 2 years, we paid off all that debt. We moved to waterfront property. Like we sold our house, made a lot off of that. It just like had a dramatic shift in a couple years.
What was that key piece that was the shift? Was it a realization? Was it focusing on you? What was the thing that really kicked off that change?
I mean, I do have to credit my energy masters. Like I woke up, there was a releasing energetically with ties that I had. You know, your parents are the ones that kind of give you your root crap in life. That I had done so much personal growth work up until that point, but it couldn't quite address this, like, especially between my dad, like a unhealthiness there. And so that like got uprooted, like in a very big energetic way. And like the cords were cut, so to speak, of me trying to get approval or being a little girl or whatever I was doing in my patterns. And when I met him after that, it was the first time I was a woman talking to my man, to my dad as a man, not anything else.
Not a child speaking to a father. Yeah. Yeah. It's a different dynamic when you do that.
And all the ways I felt threatened prior to that melted in the sense of like, I'm like, this sounds bad, but you're just an old man. Like it's not,
you're not scary.
Yeah. He's just like, oh,
Yeah.
In fact, I had compassion for how things had gone down. You know, we had been estranged for like 6 months up until that point. Anyway. And so I healed that. And, that was definitely the beginning of the shift. And then I got really into energy mastery, Travis. Like I started going to yoga 3 times a week, and I started making not just like 5 minutes, but like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour a day for me. I started going into self-care hardcore. It wasn't all at once, but it grew and grew and grew. So 7-8 years, really intensely. And then I got into other modalities as a martial artist. It's still all about the same Tai Chi Qigong principles, which Tai Chi is a martial art.
Yes.
It's just not focused on fighting, it's focused on healing. And through that, then started doing a bunch of classes for my foundation I have, the Conscious Leadership Foundation, which is helping train teachers in mindfulness so that they can have the self-care to then give back to the kids and teach them those emotional resilience as well. So I was just doing all this energy stuff, which is personal. And I just was doing benefits or not, doing free classes and stuff until there was a turning, and especially with the pandemic, which accelerated it when people really needed help, was when I really fully embodied the whole energy coaching 100% in my vocation of what I do, what I'm called to do to serve in this world.
Would you call this your passion and your purpose then?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It'll take different expressions. Like I've added in creative stuff like singing, but singing just energy in a vocal expression. So yeah. I'm not going to become like a vocal coach.
We were singing.
Song, but
we were singing karaoke at their ranch in Texas after playing flag football with Fletcher Cox. So I know that you know how to sing.
I love singing. So singing is definitely a passion, 100%, that I didn't know I had. Well, I knew I loved singing, but I know I love songwriting too. So I just this year did my first we're doing a release actually on World Peace Day, September 21st. I'm holding a World Peace concert, and I'm going to release the song to the world.
Where's the concert?
It's online.
Okay.
So September 21st.
We'll have to get the link for that so that Travis can put it on.
That'd be great. They'll be featuring other singers as well that are much bigger.
I don't even know when this episode is going to go live. It's probably going to be like 2 months after.
Yeah, it could be. It's true too.
We may be able to, I know the person that runs this thing. We might be able to slide you up at a couple of slots. You know what I'm saying? Kind of get you in there for the pre-release of the song.
That would be cool.
I know a guy.
You're looking at him. Who, me?
Such a surprise. Excellent. No, that would be cool because it's a good benefit. We want to benefit the Ukraine refugees, or Russian refugees. Like that whole crisis has died down. It's not as hot, but it's still going on. So do what we can. 100% of proceeds will go there. And
that's awesome. So then your energy coaching, like what tell us a little bit about that, because now we know this is, you found your passion, you found your purpose, this is what you're doing. Kind of give us a glimpse of like what you might do for somebody that comes and seeks your help. And who would be a prime candidate, let's just say, that would come and benefit from coaching with you?
We serve high-achieving, creative, conscious business leaders. And the why, that we all have the same vision, which is, in a nutshell, global enlightenment. But to say that more fully for those what does that mean? It's really to elevate humanity's consciousness, because consider that we have, when it comes to the world's biggest problems, a lot of the solutions technologically, but as a people, human to human, we're still fighting. We got our wars. So until we can, world peace is not going to be reality until we have inner peace. And so we are here to catalyze that next generation of those high achieving, conscious, creative business leaders to cause a tipping point in elevating our consciousness globally so that we can have global enlightenment as an outcome. So we all share that vision. And then what we do with our people is cultivate their inner peace and really calm the chattering mind and cut through the distraction and really tap into boundless energy inside rather than constant look outside themselves for that next dopamine hit or that filling that void always outside themselves. We have them look inside, face the silence and the inner world. And in doing that, we use we have a live framework. I shared on Travis's other podcast, but it's all about, some of the, A is for allowing more yin to your yang. So again, the hustle and grind is all pervasive. How do we actually create moments, not just of peace, but of nothingness, of reflection into our daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual lives? I did a little too much yin this year with all that vacation.
I think that's debatable.
Too much yin, out of balance. Need to bring
that
that
might
yang
be
back.
debatable, because there are some people that want some more yin to their yang, if you know what I'm saying. So,
That's usually the case, right?
I've got
Yeah.
no comment on the matter.
It's not work-life balance. I'm like,
no comment. I'm actually shocked, Travis.
I know. I thought you were going to lose it out.
It's funnier that I said no comment. I had both of you rolling right there. I'm like,
I was
touching
pitching
this. They're
you
like,
a
what?
soft
Travis,
one.
we expect you to touch this. Touch all of this.
You didn't just whip it out.
Yeah. What? Jeez.
Jesus.
Careful.
Ha, I can play crew too. So anyway,
So I'm someone that struggles with this, right? I've had a lot that's happened in my life. I consider myself a achiever. There's always something going on. I wouldn't know what to do if my mind was actually calm.
That can be scarier for some people.
Yeah.
Someone once told me, they're like, I don't want to be in silence. I don't want to be still. And I'm like, oh, that's all the things we do. Because you have to face yourself and the inside, the inner demon, so to speak, all your stuff comes out in that silence and in that stillness. That's one of the ways you can approach.
There's still a restraining order out on all of my stuff, so I don't want that to be.
Travis.
Yes, I'm here all week. I'm here for you.
So, give us I don't know, give us an example. What you would do if somebody comes to you, let's just say he or she is struggling with not just their business, but their personal life. How would you go about helping them find that thing that they need to work on, besides, becoming quiet, becoming connected to your inner self, understanding what scares you so that you can face it? What are some things that, kind of demystify? Because when you say energy work, I think for a lot of people, they're like, I don't know what that means, right? And so, giving people an idea of what that looks like might actually allow them to see, oh yeah, I'm totally down with this. I totally get this,
Totally. So it works differently if it's one-on-one, which I don't focus on at this time. I do have a handful, but I usually am doing group coaching or training. And so it looks different. So I'll kind of speak to a little bit to both. But on a one-on-one level, it's all about discerning in the conversation, what is their actual energy leak? What is the source of it? So like I was saying, it's oftentimes a relationship, but a lot of times, everyone's a little bit different. So through a series of questions that are guided, I help them discover for themselves what is the source of whatever energy drain they're dealing with. Oh, I'm so exhausted all the time. Oh, I don't have a morning routine. Oh, I don't have support for this dream that I want, or whatever. So those are all energy leaks and drains. And then depending on what it is, on a one-on-one session, I go wherever needed. So for some people who just want more energy, we get physical. I'll actually do yoga tai chi with them in a private session and give them actual energy exercises to work on that, release them, which I think Travis has experienced some of that firsthand when we were at the ranch.
You never know what's going to get shaken loose. Trust me.
I know when he cleared out. Yeah. So sometimes it's physical. how I actually work with them. Other times it's emotional, right?
Mm,
So
yeah.
in that case, I have just different exercises that I guide them through. It could be a meditation, like where we're going into the heart. It could be, though, like a very, on my TEDx talk, actually, I do the exercise of where you face the fear inside as an energy. So what's the color? What's the shape? What's the texture? And we put you back into observer consciousness. And then by just allowing and accepting the energy, people are able to see it for what it is and move through it and forward, versus fixing it, resisting it, avoiding it, all the ways that people deal with an uncomfortable feeling or pain, right? So there's like something more practical.
Now, do you have a specific energy that you deal with? Like when you say you do energy work, do you focus on one particular type? Or do you do them? Does it just depend on the situation as to what type of energy work you do?
Correct. I'm not like, I'm a Reiki teacher or I'm a
Right.
Everything's energy. So I just take ancient principles, from the Tao a lot, but from all cultures of 10,000 years old, and then apply them to the modern day today. And what that means would look like when I'm dealing with someone's fears and they don't want to, they're too scared to take them off because they think their business is going to go to the ground. If they do, I'd be like, well, let's look. And so we play out the whole scenario where they're like, well, I'm going to be homeless then, or I'm going to, do or die. Like they get to the source of it. Sometimes we draw pictures. I'm not kidding. Like, we'll do whatever it takes to like help them in their way get to the source of what it is. And then once they face it in the body as a feeling, that's where there's freedom. And then we can, and again, it's not a particular energy I'm bringing in necessarily. It's their energy, and having them look at everything in their life, their thoughts, emotions, or energies as an energy, and then separate from that. Or sometimes it's accepting and welcoming the energy into their heart. Like, it depends.
Sure. Because it can actually make you a stronger individual in the end.
Yeah. Like we want to value our fears. That's one of our, that's the V of alive.
Yeah.
So how do we treat fears like little children? Oh, you're doing your little tantrum again, and put them under our arms without like,
give them a hug and a kiss.
Or ignore you. Yeah.
See, I think, I know we're joking here, but this is really important, because if we realize that we're not the person, we are not our thoughts, but we are in control and having our thoughts, and we are not our fears, and we are not our ego, and we understand that we're a separate being and we can control that narrative, that conversation, those interactions, it changes how we can view and interact with the world. It completely unlocks what we're able to do as people.
Yes, absolutely.
So you kind of made a little joke like, oh, your little fears, you're throwing a little tantrum. When you can talk to your fears that way, when you legitimately can do that, be like, or you name your whatever, right? I used to have arguments with my body because my body does not like pain, but when I have to work out for the military, it causes pain. And, like, oh, my knees are hurting. And they're like, what's up, man? Why are the knees hurting? And they're like, I told you we're going to hurt you if you were going to run again. Like, you have a conversation with different parts of your body.
Yes,
because
that's
you
actually
can.
really healthy too.
But you really can. And I said it to someone, this was like 10 years ago. They looked at me, they're like, you are out of your mind, dude. I'm like, no, you are. All those things that happen to you, like all the emotions, all the fear, all those things that happen within your being are not your being. Your emotions are an indicator of something. It's not the action you need to take. I know so many people that are just, whatever their emotion is, that's what they're doing. You are in control and you get to decide. The feeling is an indicator of something, right? What about you wake up in the morning?
I am angry. I have anger.
I have anger. I'm not, not identifying with whatever the thing is. Like, you wake up and you've been going to the gym for like 4 days now, and your body's like, we ain't doing this. Suck it up, body. We're going anyway. Right? That feeling you're getting of not wanting to go has nothing to do with who you are. It's just happening within you, and you're experiencing it. And you can say, too bad, so sad. Same thing with the comfort zone. I don't want to do it. It's scary. Everything is scary and impossible until you do it. Mm-hmm. I know, starting a show with Carol, she's never hosted a podcast before. She's a little nervous, right?
Oh, I was nervous, like crazy nervous when I started this with Travis. Yeah. I was so out of my depth, and I just remember just leaning on Travis in the beginning, and I leaned heavily on him, and thank God he can take my weight, because I was worth.
You and Anna are both light. I picked you both up. It's nothing.
Well, no, but it was a bit terrifying. I didn't understand the structure. I didn't understand what to do. And he's great because in a way he became my mentor for podcasts. I know to stay in my lane, and he's been great. And we talked about this with David on the earlier podcast, where I stay in my lane. I'm good at certain things, and I know I'm really good at them, but then I have these blind spots. And Travis covers one of my blind spots, which is in podcasting. I have other blind spots, but I have other people in place that cover those blind spots to protect me. So every place I know I have blind spots, I have people that support me. And I feel very fortunate, that I had Travis here to basically help guide me, because we all need guides and mentors to become better people.
Or energy coaches like Anna.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We can't do it all. And that was part of our our discussion with David was you can't be good at everything. You got to pick something, and you got to run with it
too, right? Football is
Reggie
a great
too.
analogy. You can be the best linebacker, but if the defensive line ain't blocking anybody, like, it doesn't matter if you're a great linebacker. If they throw it over your head, you've got to rely on the safeties or the nickelbacks to catch. Right? You can't do it all. And it's easy to talk about in team sports, but it's hard to think about when we talk about ourselves as individuals. But this household doesn't run itself. There's things that I do well, there's things that my wife does well, and there's things that we make our son do, right?
Reluctantly.
Yeah. He's great.
I was to clean the gutters, not a good idea.
But you learn things. You learn about the roles. You decide what you're good at or not good at. Like, I really enjoy being on camera. You both know this about me. I love having the microphone. I could talk all day, and like, I could be doing it right now.
That is seriously a gift, right? But that's not a gift that everybody possesses.
Right.
People do it because, number one, it's an effective tool for people to get to know you better. But not everybody enjoys being in front of a camera. Not everybody enjoys being in front of a microphone. They may not be naturals at it. Mm-hmm. And it just depends where your strengths are. And for you, darling, you'll take a mic from a person and go and start a conversation, like, with the whole room, because that's the person you are. But that's not something that everybody's good at.
Right. And there's things I'm terrible at, like back-end podcast production. I've got a team, and we do it for other people, other companies, other shows. But I know that it's not one of my skills. My skills is being on camera, talking to people, and then helping people do it better. I know where my skills are. I know where my lane is. And then just like you, I have people to do the things that I'm not the best at. Could I do those things? Of course I could. But good Lord, how long would it take me to do some of that stuff? Oh, man.
Is it worth your time? Right.
Yeah. So 5 days later, I'm still doing the whatever. And they're like, I could have done this for you in 6 minutes. Like, what are you doing? I was like, I can do it. But why? Why would I waste my time? Why could we do something?
Well, that's why there's so many different professions in this world. There's somebody to fill each slot. So where you lack the experience or the wherewithal or the knowledge, somebody else is going to fill that spot. Right. Yeah. And they can do it better, quicker, and more effectively than you every day of the week.
And I can do this better, quicker, and more efficiently than they can. So, nah.
Exactly. So now we're going to take this full circle back around to Anna. But this is why, if you want to run a business and you find yourself bogged down, and you need that clarity and you want to clear that energy so that you can let more creativity come into your life, right? You hire a coach. You hire a coach to guide you through that, to help you face your fears, to allow you to become an effective leader.
And that's what I was going to say, even so, my lane is group coaching. It's not even one-on-one. So while we do that, right, what I've discovered is, I was just talking to a coach literally before this call, and he was like, God, I love one-on-one, not group. It's so tiring. And I'm like, no, I love group. Group's like so much easier and more awesome. So the way that would look is a little distinct. If I can share that would be great. So again, it's it's a totally different format. So I find there's an energy that happens in a community, as you all know, that is easy to tap into, that works beautifully alongside one-on-one, that is distinct if you did not have that component at all. So in our we have like a membership, a live membership, and inside of that, what it looks like is we have a rhythm where they get trained in something for a month so that they can really integrate it into their life. Because how many times have you been on a session or retreat or some out-of-town awesome thing, and you come back home and reality hits you and you have to integrate into your life, and it's very hard to do so, right? So that's where the community comes in, and then being able to pick apart in pieces one principle and integrate it as a habit each week. That's what we work on. And then we also have yoga tai chi classes in that same membership, so that we integrate what everyone's learning into the body and not just keep it up in the head. And it's not just a yoga class. It's the integration of energy into the body. And so, like, on the allowing more yin to your yang, then we practically break it down. Like, okay, great. Plan out all your vacations for the next year. Come back next time with that with that done. And then the next week would be like, okay, great. When you're going to take a date with yourself, doing exactly only what you want with no one else, like no responsibilities, no obligations. And I want that date done, and let us know how that went, right? So it's very practical and specific as to what each of the principles are. Because if we don't have space, I mean, that's just one principle, but if we don't have space to just go be alone, essentially, how are we going to, I mean, when you do take that space, it's so replenishing that you end up producing way more than you ever would have before.
I love it.
Do you allow everybody in those groups to share so that they can glean from each other's experiences as well? And then is there like friendships that within that community develop where
Yes.
there's, okay.
Yeah, so we just do the training one of the 4 weeks, but the other weeks we do a mastermind, like a peer advisory mastermind, so everyone contributes. We really encourage everyone to set up one-on-ones with each other outside the call. And then we also we'll sometimes bring in guest speakers or whatnot. So there's a different format each week.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So we just are actually finishing up a round of our first 90 days with our founding members, and they're all in love with each other. And we create side projects together and support each other and all of that. So it becomes more of a lifestyle.
I love it. I tell you, Anna, as we getting ready to wrap things up here, I got two last things for you. One, where is the one place you want people to find you, if that's either your business or on social media or an email? What's the one place you want people to find you, connect with you?
LinkedIn is fine. You can give my profile.
Perfect. And then what advice would you have to someone that's struggling with the energy loss in their life, to put it in your terms? What advice would you have for these individuals?
Energy loss, like, yeah, the drain or the plug. It's an interesting question. I mean, the main thing is go within is, I think, the long and short of it. Because if you keep chasing outside yourself to gain more energy or to numb bad energy out, you will never discover the brilliance within to shine as bright as it can.
Oh, that is perfect. If you're constantly searching for something outside of you to fill you up, it's going to be never ending. Mm-hmm. No amount of booze, gambling, sex, drugs, rock and roll are going to fill that hole. You've got to find it from within if you want to shine. I love that. Anna, thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thank you. My pleasure.
That's all for this episode of Titan Evolution Podcast. We hope this no-holds-barred conversation opened your eyes on what it takes to live a genuinely happy life according to your own terms. Now that you've treated yourself to such a refreshing discussion, You cannot listen to nonsense content anymore. Be sure not to miss an episode by subscribing to the show at TitanEvolutionPodcast.com. Don't forget to share the word so more people can be enlightened, informed, and entertained. Thank you for listening.